Episode 11, the one you've been waiting on. In this episode, we're going to glue the four sides of the abandoned armoire back together. So let's go back a little bit and see what all I did off camera today to get us here. And then we're going to move forward and put this bad boy together. Here we go. Since episode 10, I have spent at least 12 hours of doing nothing but sanding this armoire. I start out by marking what I'm going to sand with a pencil so that as I sand off the pencil marks, I know that I've covered everything. I had to start really low at 40 grit on the back because these slats were not very level, and 40 grit does a really good job of essentially shaping the wood to where everything's nice and flat. The back slats was the only surface that I used 40 grit on. The other ones I could start with 80. I went from 80 to 120 to 150 to 180 to 220. And in between each sanding, I pencil marked, sanded, and then water popped them in order to get the grain to kind of stand up so that when I sanded with the next higher grit, it would make it all nice and flush again. In the end, this gives a much smoother, silky surface. I ran into an issue with the orbital sander not being able to get into some of the corners. But luckily, I have a detail corner sander that fit the bill very nicely. I've only used this little bad boy once or twice, but when you need it, it really comes in handy. With it, I also did 80, 120, 150, 180, 220. The edges of the slats are going to slide into grooves on the back corners. So I had to make sure that they would not bottom out in the groove. And any places that I found were possibly a problem, I went ahead and planed them down with my hand planer. This is actually an antique hand planer that I found in a bucket of a bunch of tools somebody gave me last year. It was all rusted up, but I took it all apart and cleaned it up. Again, for those hard to reach spots, I used my detail sander to get them all nice and flush. If you were with me for the Great Meemaw Table Build episodes, you'll recognize this tool. This is my dual spindle dowel jig. What it does is it drills two perfectly symmetrical holes into your wood so that you can then insert wooden dowels into to join two pieces of wood together. This forms a much stronger joint than just gluing up two surfaces together. Now, I still used glue, you'll see later on, but the dowels made it a very, very strong joint. Okay, now that I've finally changed out the bits to the smaller dowels, what we're going to do is the front, which is laying down face down, is going to have dowels going this way, and the side is going to have dowels going that way. But I have to line up the hole here to the hole here. So, what's the best way to do that? And I'm basing everything on the top of the armoire. The bottom, the legs, we got room to adjust if it's not right. But the tops, there's no room for error. So we're going to have them flush at the top. And what I'm going to do is mark a line everywhere that I want to put the dowels. Okay, so not counting the legs, the height is 71 inches. I think we can go nuts on this and do 5 sets of dowels. And we're going to make the first ones offset from the edge by 2 inches. So 2 inches there, 2 inches there, that's 4 inches. That is 67 inches. And we need 4 empty spots. So divide that by 4. 16 3/4 inches. First one's at 2. Go 16 3/4. Doesn't have to be exact, as long as it matches. Okay, that worked out. So now, draw a line across both the side and the front. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the line on the side of the side is correct, but the line needs to be on the back of the front. Now, the distance that I want the holes to be from the edge of the front is 1/2 of the thickness of the side, because I want it to be in the center of the side. So I need to find out what is the thickness of the side. It's an inch and 1/16. So we're going for just a smidge over 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch and a 32nd to be exact. And we'll put the same markings here on the back of the front. So they can go as far into here as we please, but we can only go so far into here. Yeah, 40 millimeters. So if I make a 20 millimeter hole, it'll work. Yep. Okay. Test run. Went that far in, which is 20 millimeters, and it was that far in. I think we're good to go. Whoa, 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 whoa. I almost screwed up here. Pay attention. I was about to drill into the wrong side. Just like that. see how we did. Where's my mallet? Looky there. So, like I was saying, originally the front face was just glued to the side. These little dowels are going to give it exponentially more strength. The dry fit worked, so let's just glue it up. Here we go. Looking pretty. I have found nothing better for cleaning up glue squeeze out than baby wipes. Gets it right off. And it smells good too. Okay, it's a new day. I finished recording and working on the Armoire at about 11 o'clock last night, and I just finished editing all of the video. And I got to tell you, I was punch drunk, exhausted. Um, you could see it if you go back and watch. I was dead tired. I probably should have waited to start the glue up today, but I didn't. So anyway, to keep this video from running much longer, it's already longer than I wanted it to be. I'm going to wrap it up by taking all the clamps off and setting this armoire up right and seeing what one side looks like glued to the front. Then I will, in the next video, glue up the other side and then glue up the back slats to where we have a four-sided armoire again. So anyway, let's go ahead and tear the clamps off and get this bad boy on its feet. Here we go. I think it's pretty frog flipping awesome. So, I'll leave you here. And next episode, you'll see the other half of First Contact. Stick around.